The joke, the first time, was at a backyard barbecue. Mark and Cheryl's place. Summer sun, the smell of charcoal and citronella. I was at the grill, master of ceremonies over sizzling steaks, a role I'd always enjoyed. My wife, Laura, was holding court at the patio table, a glass of Sauvignon Blanc in hand, holding a group of our friends wrapped with a story about her latest interior design client. Someone, I think it was Cheryl, called out, "Laura, this marinade is incredible. You'll have to give me the recipe." Laura waved a dismissive hand, her bracelets catching the light. "Oh, that's all Elias. He's the culinary artist of the house. I just live there." Laughter. Easy, comfortable. Then Mark, grinning, ribbed me. "Better keep him happy, Laura. A man who cooks is a keeper." And that's when she said it. She leaned forward, a conspiratorial glint in her eye, a smile on her lips that didn't feel like it was for me. "Please, Elias isn't my husband. He's my very handsome, very permanent roommate. The marriage certificate is just a formality for the insurance." The table erupted. Guffaws. Cheryl wiped a tear from her eye. "Oh, Laura, you're terrible." I stood there, spatula in hand, the heat from the grill flushing my face. I forced a chuckle. A good sport. The reliable, unflappable Elias. Inside, a small, frozen stone formed in my gut. It wasn't the words themselves, not really. It was the tone. Dismissive, demoting. A public recategorization of our 15-year marriage, our shared history, our home, into something transient, functional, transactional. I let it go. What else do? You chalk it up to Laura being Laura, witty, sharp, the life of the party. You tell yourself she doesn't mean it. You ignore the cold little stone. But the stone had seeds in it. And seeds, given enough quiet neglect, will grow. It happened again 2 months later at a dinner party we hosted. I'd spent all day cleaning, prepping, cooking cocoa vin. The house smelled of thyme and red wine. Our friends were impressed. "Elias, this is restaurant quality." Laura, from the head of the table, swirled her wine and said, with that same theatrical sigh, "Don't encourage him. My roommate gets a big head when you compliment his cooking. Next thing you know, he'll be charging me rent for the guest room." More laughter. My cocoa vin turned to ash in my mouth. Then at the company holiday party. My company. I just introduced her to my new CEO. "And this is my wife, Laura." She'd shaken his hand, smiled brilliantly, and said, "Ignore him. I'm just the plus one he's stuck with for tax purposes. Practically roommates." The CEO, a man I was trying to impress, gave a confused, polite smile. My colleagues within earshot chuckled awkwardly. The stone in my gut was no longer small. It was a geode, cracking open, revealing cold, crystalline facets of understanding. This wasn't a joke. It was a narrative. She was crafting a story for our public life where I was not her partner, not her love, not the man she'd build a life with. I was a convenience, a live-in chef, a financial co-signer, a roommate. The worst part was the private contrast. At home, the expectations were entirely spousal. "Elias, the garbage disposal is making that sound again." "Elias, we need to talk about the investment portfolio." "Elias, my mother is visiting next weekend. Can you make sure the guest room is perfect?" "Elias, we need to decide on a color for the sunroom." The we was always me. The doing was always me. The responsibility was mine. The title, the credit, the respect, that was hers to bestow or withhold publicly, always as a punchline. The night of the holiday party, driving home in a silence so thick it felt viscous, I finally spoke. "Why do you do that?" "Do what?" She was checking her reflection in the passenger window. "Call me your roommate." In front of people. She laughed, a short, sharp sound. "God, Elias, are you serious?" "It's a joke. Don't be so sensitive." "It's funny." "It doesn't feel funny to me. It feels diminishing." She turned to me, her face etched in the green glow of the dashboard lights. "Well, maybe if you weren't so perpetually responsible all the time, it wouldn't ring so true. You were a bit like a fussy roommate sometimes." "Laura, don't leave the lights on." "Laura, the water bill is high. Lighten up." That was the moment the geode shattered completely. The cold crystals spilled into my bloodstream. I saw it with absolute clarity. Her disrespect wasn't a slip. It was her genuine perspective, leaking out in jokes. She saw my care as fussiness. My provision as a transactional service. My love. What had my love been to her? A reliable utility, like good water pressure. I didn't argue. I just nodded. Okay. She took that as victory, as capitulation. She went back to her phone. I drove the rest of the way in a state of eerie calm. The emotional storm was over. The landscape it left behind was barren, clear, and perfectly suited for construction. If I was a roommate, then I would be the best damn roommate she'd ever had. And I would start by learning the rules of the arrangement. The next morning, I began my new role. Phase 1. Financial separation. Roommates don't share bank accounts. They split bills. I went online and opened a new checking account in my name only. I changed the direct deposit for my salary to flow 70% into the new account, 30% into the old joint one, a rough estimate of half the mortgage and utilities. When Laura inevitably noticed the smaller deposit, I was ready. The firm is adjusting compensation structures. I told her over coffee. Temporary. More bonus-focused. Less base salary. Might be tight for a few months. I offered a concerned, sympathetic frown, the kind a responsible roommate might give when informing another of a rent hike. She frowned, a flicker of anxiety in her eyes. Tight? How tight? I just ordered those drapes for the sunroom. We might have to delay them, I said, pouring more coffee. Or you could cover them from your design business account. I said it mildly, reasonably. Her business account was a decorative fiction, a trickle of pin money. Her real income was my salary. She stared at me. My account can't cover that. I shrugged, a perfectly roommate-ish gesture. Then I guess the sunroom stays as is for a while. Priorities, right? Phase 2. Domestic demarcation. Roommates have their own spaces, their own responsibilities. I stopped doing her laundry. I do mine, fold it, put away. Hers I left neatly in a basket at the door of her walk-in closet. The first time she noticed, holding a silk blouse, she came into my study. Elias, this is wrinkled. Did you not run the steam cycle? I looked up from my book. Oh, I only did my load. I assumed you'd handle yours. I didn't want to overstep. I gave her a polite, distant smile. She blinked, the blouse dangling from her fingers. Overstep? You're my husband. You've done my laundry for 15 years. I bookmarked my page. Right. But you've made it clear that framing feels inaccurate to you. I'm trying to respect the boundaries of our living arrangement. I went back to my book. She stood there for a full minute before leaving, silent. I stopped making her coffee in the morning. I'd make a pot, pour myself a cup. If she wanted some, she could pour it herself. I stopped stocking her favorite yogurt, her specific brand of sparkling water. I bought groceries for one. If she wanted something, she could add it to the list on the fridge, a list I would consult for my next shopping trip. And maybe, if I was feeling generous, pick up. I stopped initiating any form of physical intimacy. When she reached for me in bed one night, I gently moved her hand. I'm really tired, Laura. Long day. The rejection was a tectonic shift. She didn't try again. Phase 3. Social reciprocity. Roommates don't provide +1s as a default service. The next invitation that came, a gallery opening for one of her designer friends. She handed me the card. It's next Friday. I looked at it. Have fun. You're not coming. I've got a work thing. A lie. I plan to sit at home and watch a documentary. You should take Mark or Cheryl. Or go solo. Mingle. Mingle, she echoed, as if I'd suggested she go naked. Sure. Network. You're the creative one. I'd just be the roommate in the corner. I said it without malice, a simple statement of fact. The bafflement in her eyes was deepening, curdling into a quiet panic. Her world, a world where I was the silent, reliable foundation upon which she built her vibrant, social, cared-for life, was creaking. The foundation was quietly removing itself, brick by brick. She began to try and reel me back in. These attempts were the most revealing of all. They weren't apologies. They weren't conversations about the deep fracture between us. They were calibrations. Adjustments to the performance to get the desired result back. She made my favorite meal, cocoa vin, a clear callback to the dinner party. It was competent, but it felt like a bribe. I ate it, thanked her politely. This is great. Thanks for cooking. As I would thank any roommate who made a nice dinner. She bought me a ridiculously expensive sweater. Saw this and thought of you. I held it up. Cashmere. Very nice. You shouldn't have. I hung it in my closet. I didn't wear it. A gift from a roommate requires no emotional reciprocation. She tried to initiate sex again, more forcefully. I pretended to be asleep. The thought of it, now, felt like a violation. She was trying to access a husband's privilege while insisting on a roommate's distance. I found it grotesque. My calm, methodical disengagement was driving her mad. She was used to my reactivity, my hurt silence, my eventual gentle confrontation, my forgiveness. This was different. This was a quiet, consistent, and total withdrawal of the self she had always taken for granted. She was living with a pleasant, helpful stranger. The climax came, as these things often do, over something trivial. A dish. She had a habit of leaving her breakfast dishes in the sink, sometimes for days. My former self, the husband, would wash them, grumble internally, say nothing. The roommate saw it differently. One Wednesday morning, she'd left a bowl crusted with dried oatmeal, a spoon, and a juice glass. I was loading my own breakfast dishes into the dishwasher. I left hers in the sink. When I came home from work that evening, they were still there. She was on the phone in the living room, laughing. I walked into the living room. She covered the phone. "Hey, can you take care of those dishes in the sink? They're gross." I looked at her, my face a polite mask. "Which dishes?" "Mine, from this morning." "Oh," I said. "I wasn't sure if you were done with them. I didn't want to move your things." I echoed her own words from a different context back to her. She stared, the phone forgotten at her ear. "What?" "Well, roommates, you know. You have to be careful about boundaries." I didn't want to assume. I gave her a small, courteous smile and turned to go upstairs. "Elias." Her voice was a whip crack. She put the phone down, ending the call. "What the hell is your problem? You've been acting like a passive-aggressive robot for weeks. Is this about the roommate thing? Are you that fucking petty?" I turned back, my calm absolute. "Petty? No. I'm taking you at your word, Lara. You've told me, repeatedly, in front of our friends, my colleagues, that I am not your husband, that we are roommates. I believe you, so I am acting accordingly. Roommates don't do each other's laundry. They don't fund each other's discretionary spending. They don't perform as plus ones without reciprocity. And they certainly don't clean up each other's disgusting, crusted dishes." My voice never rose. It was chilling in its clarity. She looked as if I had thrown the dish in her face. Her mouth worked. It was a joke. A stupid joke. "You're blowing this completely out of proportion. You're trying to punish me." "I'm not punishing you," I said, weary now. The performance was exhausting. "I'm accepting the reality you've defined. This is what it looks like, Lara. This is the roommate experience. It's separate finances. It's divided chores. It's emotional and physical distance. It's transactional coexistence. You described it. I'm just living it. Congratulations. Your joke is now your life." I went upstairs. I didn't slam the door. I closed it softly, the final click of a lock sliding home. The house was different after that. A Cold War in a beautifully decorated theater. She alternated between icy silence and tearful, frustrated rage, which I met with unbroken, immovable calm. I'd broken the script. She no longer knew how to play her part. It was during this stalemate that I found the evidence. Not that I needed it for my own understanding, but the world, I knew, would demand proof. The narrative couldn't just be my word against hers. She was too good a performer. I came home early one Tuesday. A canceled meeting. Her car was gone, but another was in the driveway. A sleek, black Audi SUV I didn't recognize. I felt that familiar cold clarity. I didn't go in. I backed my car out and parked down the street. I opened the home security app on my phone. I had installed the cameras years ago after a break-in in the neighborhood. Lara had mocked them, called me paranoid. I'd forgotten they were there. I pulled up the living room feed. Empty. The kitchen. Empty. Then I switched to the camera covering the back patio, the one she thought was broken because the light never came on. It worked fine. It was just motion activated in a different, less obvious spectrum. There they were. Lara and a man. He was tall, dressed in the casual, expensive sportswear of the leisure class. They were sitting close on the outdoor sofa. Not touching, but the proximity was intimate. She was talking animatedly, gesturing with her wine glass. He was smiling, leaning in, captivated. It was the way she used to talk to me, when she still wanted to captivate me. Then I saw it. She threw her head back and laughed at something he said, and she reached out and swatted his knee. A playful, flirtatious, utterly familiar gesture. The same gesture she'd stopped using on me years ago. The man caught her hand, held it for a moment too long, his thumb stroking her knuckles. I didn't feel rage. I felt a profound, settling finality. The final piece of the puzzle. Her roommate narrative wasn't just a cruel joke or a demeaning perspective. It was cover. It was the story she was telling so that when she finally left or was discovered, people would nod and say, well, you know, she always said they were just roommates. She was pre-writing the history of our demise to cast herself as the witty prophet, not the betrayer. I took screenshots. I saved the video clip. I had what I needed. I waited until the Audi left. I waited another hour. Then I went home. She was in the kitchen, washing that damned oatmeal bowl. She looked up, her face guarded. You're home early. Meeting was canceled. I set my bag down. We need to talk. She dried her hands, bracing herself for another round of the roommate argument. If this is about the dishes again, Elias, I swear to God, it's not about the dishes. I leaned against the counter. Who was here today? A flicker of panic, instantly masked by indignation. What? No one. The black Audi in the driveway. Who does it belong to? Her cheeks flushed. A client. He dropped off some fabric swatches. It's not a big deal. A client who holds your hand on the back patio. My voice was still quiet. All the color drained from her face. She looked suddenly, terribly small. You were spying on me? The security camera you made fun of works just fine. I pulled out my phone, opened a screenshot, and turned it toward her. It was the moment his thumb was on her knuckles. She stared at it, her breath coming in short hitches. The performance crumbled. The witty, dismissive wife vanished, leaving a scared, cornered woman. It's not what it looks like. It never is. I put the phone away. His name is Greg. He's a commercial real estate developer. His wife left him 2 years ago. You met him at the Chamber of Commerce mixer 6 months ago. You've been having coffee for weeks. I'd had Ada, the same discreet professional, do a quick check after the financial separation. I'd known for a while. I just needed the visual confirmation. The fight went out of her. She sagged against the sink. Why are you doing this, Elias? Why have you been so cold? You pushed me away. I actually laughed, a dry, hollow sound. That's the masterpiece, isn't it? You get to rewrite it all. You get to demean me publicly for years. You get to find comfort with another man. And when I finally stop playing my assigned role of doting provider, I push you away. The narrative is bulletproof. For you. I didn't mean the roommate thing to hurt you, she cried, tears now real ones. Yes, you did, I said, finally letting a sliver of the accumulated frost into my voice. You meant to diminish me, to make yourself feel less bound, less accountable, to create a little escape hatch in your mind, and in the minds of everyone we know. And it worked. So here we are, roommates, one of whom has been unfaithful. That simplifies the next part considerably. The next part, she whispered. The divorce, Laura. I'll have my lawyer send over the papers. Given the financial separation I've already enacted and the evidence of adultery, I think you'll find the terms very roommate appropriate. You'll get what's fair, which, it turns out, is considerably less than what a wife would have gotten. I walked out of the kitchen. I went to my study, my room, and closed the door. I could hear her crying in the kitchen, but the sound was very far away. The stone in my gut was gone. In its place was a vast, quiet emptiness. It wasn't happiness, but it was peace. It was the peace of a man who no longer has to live inside someone else's cruel joke. The divorce was, as I predicted, streamlined by my preparations. Her lawyer blustered, but the screenshots, the financial records showing the separation of accounts months before, my testimony about her public characterization of our marriage, it painted a picture of a union long since emotionally abandoned by her. She got a settlement, enough to be comfortable, but not enough to maintain the life she'd had. The life I had funded. The last time I saw her was at the final settlement signing. She looked older, the vibrant, sharp-edged beauty softened by strain and what might have been genuine regret. As she stood to leave, she turned to me. You never fought for me, she said, her voice low. You just checked out. I looked at her, this stranger I'd shared a home with for so long. You told everyone I wasn't your husband, I said. I just finally believed you. I left the lawyer's office. The sun was bright. I got into my car, alone, and drove away from the life we'd built. I was no one's roommate. I was just myself. And for the first time in a very long time, That felt like more than enough.